You're listening to the Hawke Media Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and executives crush the digital marketing game. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. Let's get into the show.
All right, you're listening to HawkeTalk. I'm here today with Griffin Johnson. How you doing, man?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be on. We got the Hawke Z up and going, baby.
Yep.
We're getting into it.
Yeah, no, let's do it. So got to start, did you, were you born and then like in the delivery room came out like dancing, recording TikTok videos? Like take me back. Where did it all start? Where are you from?
I honestly, I don't think it happened like that because I didn't hear any stories about it, but, I guess it would make sense at this point, but I was born, Southern Illinois, well, pretty close to Central, but super small farm town called Paris, Illinois. There's about 8,500 people there, and super low key and community.
Nice. And tell me about like who are your parents? What did they do? What kind of an upbringing did you have?
Yeah, so growing up, my mom would just take care of me and my brother. My dad was he worked at a place called Cargill. It's like a cereal mill that makes like the corn flakes and everything for Kellogg's and
nice.
All of the grain work. So nothing fancy, nothing special for sure.
A true Midwest upbringing.
Literally corn raised, corn fed. So
nice. And so your mom was super active with you and your brother. What kind of stuff did you get into as a kid? Like, where did your sort of performer side of yourself start to come out?
Growing up, really, it was all about sports for me.
Okay.
And I think I got my first job whenever I was 11. I started detasseling corn. So it was all about corn. Yes, now that I think about it. I don't think that I ever did anything that was necessarily like performing. I never did like school plays or any of that. I never did band.
Yeah.
Anything that you would think that I would have done, I never did. So I think that's ironic.
Yeah, no, that's usually why it's fun to get the story. So sports, what was the first sport you really got into, and how old are you?
My first sport actually was swimming.
Okay.
So I was probably like 5, I think, when I started.
Yep. You actually started competing at 5?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
And I think that's actually kind of what made me a super athlete. Whenever I was a young kid, like swimming just got me in such like physical, like it was insane. And then time I was like 8, I was playing on like the 10-year-old all-star baseball team. And after that, it was just baseball for me.
Yeah. And so how far did you take that? Did you go through college with baseball? Or did you?
I took it all the way up through high school.
Okay.
I, obviously wanted to and ended up not being able to, but it was definitely something that I was working towards. But no, I went to nursing school and then just started focusing on school.
Got it. And so to take it back, you said 11, you started working with corn. What drew you to that? Like most kids don't get a job at 11. Like how did that come up?
I always had a fascination with money.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to know, like, whenever I'd see my dad like have money in his wallet or whatever, I'd be like, I want money.
Yeah.
And obviously like, I was able to have the things I needed growing up, but we definitely didn't have a bunch of extra money to be spending. So, I wanted money. So I was like, how can I do it? And then I got an offer to do detasseling from a friend of mine. So I immediately was like, okay, I'll make money.
Yeah. And how was that? Did you like, as an 11-year-old actually getting a job, did you like, you love it? Did you go, wait, this working thing sucks? Like, how did that come up for you?
No, I finished it and then I did it for like the next 4 or 5 years as a second job. So I definitely did like it a lot, but I remember whenever I was out there that I was so short that my shoulders would be exhausted at the end of the day because I couldn't really reach it like everybody else.
Yeah.
people would fly through the rows and I'd be one of the last people out every time. So that was super annoying because I never got a break.
Yeah, got it. And so you say second job. So when did you start the other job? I guess the first job.
Whenever I was 15,
Okay.
where I had another job. And then I was doing a brick mason work.
Okay.
So building foundations, and I did a couple of buildings. I actually built the portal like potty bathroom for my fairgrounds. That's my biggest flex.
That's awesome. And okay, so it sounds like you were really committed. I mean, you're playing baseball, you're working two jobs. Much of a social life growing up, or was it really just work, sports?
To be honest, it's kind of a weird situation when people ask me, because I hit puberty super late, and I was never like a partier, like drinker or whatever. So in high school, whenever kids started, going out and having parties and drinking and this and that, I slowly shifted from being like the cool kid to not that cool.
Yeah.
Obviously I wasn't like hated. It was just weird for me. So, I don't know. It was super. I don't really know how to explain it, because by the end it was like I kind of resented everybody in a way. So I don't know. I wasn't hated, but I wasn't loved.
Yeah, and I think that's normal for a lot of people. That, frankly, you mentioned it, like hitting puberty late, et cetera. Like the late bloomer that tends to end up being like the one that moves on to do something great, like not peaking in high school also sometimes means you're not peaking in high school. You're not, the most popular kid. You're not the one that everybody wants to hang out with, because you're thinking about things for the future. You were literally working two jobs and doing sports and, working on going to nursing school and all that. Like, seems to make sense. So where'd you go to nursing school, by the way?
Indiana State.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So when did like the social media thing start to kick in? When did you get your first online account and that side of things?
Okay. So I got my first one. It was that would have been my sophomore year, second semester, like, just starting that. So February of 2019.
Okay. So it was in college.
Yeah.
Got it. So you stayed off social media in high school.
Yeah, I never I'm not gonna lie, all the way through high school and everything, I never had a Musical.ly.
Yeah.
I used Twitter. I just basically had Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. And I barely used them ever. I think I posted on Instagram before I started doing the TikTok stuff. It had been a year since I had Instagram.
Got it. And so how'd that come up as a person that wasn't super social media? You didn't, like, you're 2 years into college. How did it all of a sudden, like, I'm going to get a TikTok?
So it was kind of a mix of things. One was, there was like girls and stuff, because obviously nursing school is predominantly like female.
Mm-hmm.
At it, and we're talking about it. And then I was putting a video that kind of blew up. And then I also had a friend named Chris Biddle, and I don't know what it was, but it was like a weird thing where he was super like persistent on me getting one. I don't know what he saw, but he saw something that I didn't see. And he would be like, I'm not good looking enough for this, but you have to do it. And he pushed me to do it, actually. And then he took me to my first like social media event and kind of got me started by taking a playlist in Florida. He actually flew there with me. So
you hadn't really gotten into it yet, and you said, yeah, sure, let's go to this social media thing in Florida.
I made like a couple of videos that blew up. I walked in there. I think I had like 100,000 followers. And I was just literally like the young gun, like didn't know anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, listen, 100,000 followers still, I know it's gotten a crazy amount more than that now, but that's a good start. You just made a couple of videos and 100,000 people followed you?
I think, yeah, that was like, playlist is in like March or something. So I was probably a month and a half in.
That's crazy. And so I guess he was right in terms of seeing something in you. And what were these videos that initially kicked it off?
Oh man, TikTok was completely different when I started. There also wasn't as much competition on the platform. So when people ask me like how it happened, It's a combination of like, I guess, luck and like a little bit of like the right place at the right time. But the videos were super simple. The trends, like I remember one of my first videos is like me doing a smiling thing where it goes the meter from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And literally just me like
smiling more and more.
And I think it got up. That was like one of my biggest videos at the time. It got like 1.5 million views, which
that's the award-winning smile, man. There you go.
Dude, back on TikTok at that time, 1.5 million was like, you didn't see over 200 or 300,000 likes.
Yeah.
You just didn't. I don't even know if it was possible, really.
Nice. So, all right. So your smile kicked you off. You go to Florida and, get into this world. What were your initial thoughts when you're walking around? Like, cause it didn't say, like, you sounded like you were a little hesitant. You were trying it out. It had gone well the first time. And now you're flying to another state to go check out a conference for it. So fell into it quick.
To be honest, I was like, yo, these kids are weird.
Yeah. No, I feel like in anything that when you're not super committed, you're around a bunch of people that are diehards, you're gonna be like, what are these? What's up with these people?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, but then I saw their lifestyle and how they were able to make money and do it like as they please and kind of build. And I'm like, okay, there's something to be done here. I don't know what it is, but there's something that people aren't seeing that I just had the opportunity to see. So that's stick to it because I really did hate it at first. I come back, I'm like, yo, Chris, these kids are so weird, man. I don't know.
Did he keep pushing you?
I wouldn't say that. I'd say that, he was like reassuring me that I was making the right moves. Yeah. Back at school, once we started making these videos, and I was growing, I started getting pretty committed to it, and people were starting to catch on, and I was picking up traction, and people were getting jealous or whatever it was. And I started getting a lot of hate, which was weird for me because in college, I was doing pretty well, and I would say that I was pretty well liked, and it was weird because I was starting to be the outcast again. So he really helped push me through that, to be honest.
Nice. And it's always good to have that. So at what point did you start making money? Did it really start taking off for you that you're like, okay, so I'm starting to get there?
Yeah. So on those live streams, so towards the end, late April, May, I started making probably like $200 or $300, and which in college, that's pretty substantial, like
you're doing great.
I would broke, I would work all summer and then I couldn't work during the school year because of class.
Yeah.
So, I'd make $5,000 last me the entire year. So I was super, and that was like insane money. I'd be like, drinks on me, everyone. Like, don't worry.
That's awesome. And so you're saying that's like April, May. So still pretty quick, a few months into it.
Yeah, that's probably like 3 months in.
Cool. And what was your first deal? Who was the first person to pay you?
Like brand deal?
Or how'd you make that few $100? Where'd that come from?
That was off of the live streams on TikTok, people donating.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, I go live, I talk to them. And then like I used to do, at college, I had these shoes, and when people would donate to me, I would sign their name on it and follow them.
Oh, nice.
And that's like, they would donate to me so they could get their name on the shoe or whatever it was. Just random stuff like building community.
Just being scrappy about it makes sense. And so, how long after that until your first brand deal? When did that start kicking in?
So not too, like whenever I was at Playlist, I actually got asked to go on a tour. It was called the Lights Out Tour. That's when a bunch of the guys, Josh, Anthony was there. Me and Anthony, he was actually my first social media friend. So he kind of helped me get started and promote in the beginning.
So how was this tour? Talk more about that.
The tour, it was interesting. So it was like a meet and greet thing. I still was new to didn't really understand like what was going on. But it was super fun. Like, obviously a lot of the relationships I made lasted a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, by the end of it, none of us really got paid, but it launched our careers.
Yeah. Were you supposed to? Was there like someone that bailed out on paying you something you were supposed to get paid for?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think combined, all of us made like 30 grand, maybe.
Yeah.
And there was of us. So definitely was not a lot of money flow, but it definitely got all of us started. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. No, sometimes you got to put in that investment as long as it's not getting conned. If someone ran away with the money, that's a different problem. But if it just didn't make much, but it got you kicked off, I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's rumors it made money, and then there's rumors it's not. I don't know. But
yeah, I think you're doing all right.
Yeah. We did perfectly fine coming off that thing.
Yeah. And that was at that summer after you had gotten started?
Yeah, that was summer of 2019. So this is kind of like, middle of that timeline. We came off of it. A lot of the guys went back to LA. I go back to school. And so they were all there. I came off. So it was like Josh and Jaden, Anthony, and a couple other guys that were staying.
Lost you.
Yes. They were staying in LA, and that's whenever Bryce kind of came to the picture because they didn't have a house. So they stayed with Bryce.
Oh, nice.
And then about, I would say halfway through that semester, I get a call from a guy named Michael Gruen. At the time,
infamous.
I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this kid? I think it was a FaceTime. He FaceTimed me. He had like a flat bill snapback on and like this blue like T-Fox hoodie that I think he had like 12 of them. And that's like the T-Fox. And anyways, I'm like, who is this like guy? He's full of shit. No way that this guy is going to get us a house in LA for free.
Yeah.
Cause that's what he told me. And then Josh was the one that was like calling with him, like trying to convince me to leave college and move out to LA with a bunch of kids. And
you were a junior at this point?
Yeah. So I was, damn near done with school. I was finished with my first semester of junior year, like rocking, doing my thing. And like, these guys are calling me saying like, you have a free place. You have to leave college and live with us. Which, now seems like it's a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah. It's a hard decision then. Yeah.
At the time, there's a lot of things going into it. Like I'm already 2.5 years, done with school. And I'm listening to these random weirdo social media kids. And they're telling me that I'm going to leave everything, tell my parents that I'm leaving.
Yep.
Moving to LA without a house yet.
Yeah.
But I did it. They convinced me.
So I got to ask, like, how, I assume you talked to your parents about it. How was that conversation?
Oh my God. Probably hands down the worst conversation I've ever had. Parents are usually like super cool, super understanding. They never ever like, told me like, no, I couldn't do something really growing up. Like, obviously, like I couldn't do anything I wanted, but they super laid back. Like the parents said, be like, if you get drunk or whatever, just call us, which funny enough, they always were those guys and I never did, but just to have an idea. I never had a problem with them until that moment. And I wasn't expecting it really. Cause like I said, they've always been like the parents. It's like, you need us, call us, like whatever.
Yeah.
Was not like that.
So what happened? What was the reaction?
Oh God. So obviously like, well, I guess not obviously, but my dad never even had the opportunity to go to college. And my mom, she didn't really either at that time. Later she went on, she's a nurse now. She went back to school like whenever I was 16 and got her degree to go to nursing. And anyways, though, So for them, this was like a crazy opportunity that I was going to university. I also had a full ride academic scholarship. So like it was super easy because it was free.
Yeah.
I was literally like, I had a year and a half left at this time, basically. And they were just baffled because
and nurses make good money.
yeah. And they were
They'll be
baffled.
good. Yeah.
I guess it didn't really make sense to them. They don't even really use social media. My parents don't even have TikTok. They don't really.
Do they still not?
No.
That's awesome. I always love how humbling family can be. Cause like you've got an insane, tens of millions of followers on TikTok and your parents are like, yeah, that's cool. I'm not signing on.
No. And they just like, it's just not over there. They don't get it.
I get it.
They don't want to get it. They don't get it. They out of them. But so yeah, I couldn't even explain what I was doing. And I think that was the hardest part was I think if they always told me like, at the time they were super pissed and like they couldn't even believe it. But now once I went back and I've talked to them later down the line, I couldn't really explain what I was saying. I'm like, yo, I'm moving to LA with these kids and we're going to get a house. That's basically what I told them. So it definitely was not a great conversation. Was by far the worst one that I've ever encountered with probably anyone, but especially with my parents.
And were there any threats or anything? Was it more just like, we don't think this is a good idea, don't do this? Like, how did it?
There wasn't any threats. It was just, I think like they were just mind blown.
Yeah.
And like, obviously they were scared. My parents had never been to LA. Like they never really left, Paris, Illinois, or like the surrounding states.
Yeah.
So I remember growing up, LA was like the forbidden, like it was like the freak show there.
Yeah.
Like whenever you hear LA, you'd be like, Hollywood, like craziness, like drugs, partying, all of that stuff. So it was even worse that it was LA.
Got it. And so obviously you had that conversation, but like, I'm just going to go for it and committed.
Yeah. Like I did a terrible job at explaining it too. Obviously I was super nervous and to be fair, I really didn't know what I was doing.
Yep.
I just had a gut feeling. I'm like, we went on tour, we blew up like a crazy amount. I guarantee if we do it again, we'll blow up even more.
Yeah.
I just sent it. I'm like,
can always finish nursing school later. Your mom's a testament to that. So
that's what I said to her. I'm like, Mom, I can go back anytime I want.
Yeah, that's actually the benefit of that, vocation too. You got, as a nurse, you can kind of start whenever. People like nurses are always in demand. So if things didn't work out, you might lose a year, but it's not like your career's over. You just finish.
Finish and pay. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That was the part. Yeah. So losing your scholarship, were you able to take a year off and defer anything at the time? I mean,
you mean like I was able to take a semester off.
Okay. So you could go back after a semester if you wanted to. Obviously you didn't end up doing that, but that was an option.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I talked about whenever I left over Christmas break. And then I just decided that, once we got the house that I was going to stay there. And then I switched my major. Got it. Just went strictly online.
Very cool. So have you been able to finish school during this period?
Yeah, I just graduated in May.
Congratulations. What'd you end up majoring in?
So I did business management.
Smart.
Minor in marketing.
Very cool. And so you moved to LA. Did you so when you got to LA, there was no house yet?
No.
And
I was sleeping on a couch.
Whose couch?
So do you remember the house that we had in Encino? It has like the spiral staircase.
Yep.
That was like the free time house, and we were staying there on the couch.
Got it. And did you like look at Griffin and Josh and be like, the fuck guys, I just dropped out of school and did all this stuff. What are we doing?
I was so scared because I literally thought Michael was completely full of shit. Like, I literally told Josh, I would have like side conversations. I'm like, dude, you just met this guy. Like, look at him. Like, he was literally wearing like a flat bill, like craziest thing I had ever seen. And I was like, bro, how are you going to trust this guy? I'm trusting you. We're all trusting everybody here. Like, and this is what we're relying on. The kid in the flat bill saying he's going to get us a free house. And it actually worked. And, you know, obviously we all ended up being good buddies and things worked out. But dude, I remember
the first time meeting Michael and I was like, is this kid real? Like I met him at a conference in LA. It's got to be 3 years ago now. And it was like, you know, all the people that he knew, because we were at a conference with a lot of, you know, sort of very well-connected people, and he's walking, like high-fiving Kevin O'Leary and doing all this stuff. I'm like, who is this guy?
Literally.
Yeah. You know, also, Dan Fine now, right?
Yeah.
That's who introduced me to him at this conference.
No way.
Yeah. Cause I've known Dan forever.
Yeah. Mr. Dan Fine.
Yeah. Great, dude. All right. So how long did it take to get the house? Like how long were you living on a couch for?
I mean, let's see. I was probably sleeping on a couch for probably 2.5 weeks or so.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like some long period that you're like, what are we doing here? It was more like, yeah, a couple weeks and then it came through.
Yeah. It was probably like 2.5, 3 weeks before we got in conversation about the house. And then probably like another 1.5 after that. And then we moved in.
And so when that conversation started, was it like a little look at like growing, like, oh, maybe this guy's legit kind of thing? Like, holy shit.
Yeah. I was like, all right. I mean, sweet. He moved in with us and then we got closer, you know, and he would make, you know, promises and he always delivered on it. So, you know, over time, it was like, he talked about the house and then, you know, as our career started, you know, he helped us get this and verification, like, and all this stuff. And he always came through. And obviously it just got to a point over time. It was like, you know, pretty much if he said something, it was legit.
It was coming through. That's awesome. And so, and where does that put us at? Where you're like winter, or I guess the beginning of 2020?
Yeah. So that's the beginning of 2020, January of 2020. We moved in January 3rd.
Okay.
And that started Sway and all of that stuff.
Got it. And so, and you partnered with Triller right away too, right there, who sponsored the house?
No.
I thought that, okay.
Triller wasn't anything. It was the free time people. So like when they started, it was like all of them and that whole group.
Got it.
That house.
Cool. And so, how did things kick off from there? Like, was it immediately all of a sudden money started flowing in? Like it all worked out day one, it just worked?
No, actually, like, I guess once we started the house, it definitely started grabbing people's eyes, like an attention. And it took a little bit. So probably a month in, we really started like taking off, like all together living in this house. And then by late February is when we really started picking up traction. Like that's when the heat started rolling. I remember like all of the YouTubers and people that I had seen before, because I never watched any of that stuff growing up. So I knew basically nobody. Yeah. But there was people that I saw like, you know, David Dobrik and like Logan Paul and them. And they started reaching out to us and we started hanging out with them. And that's when I was like, all right, we're rocking. I know these people. I've seen them. Like, obviously I know their numbers.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, which obviously cut that off. It was a weird time. We're like in LA, like at home.
Yeah.
And that's like when things started just skyrocketing.
I was gonna say, but everyone's stuck. Like, I think that's when I started using TikTok and I'm in my 30s. So I was the new demographic that jumped on when the pandemic hit and was like, what do we do now?
Yeah. It was like the craziest Sway was like the craziest whirlwind of like right people, right place, right time. You could not like ask for a better combination with quarantine in the house and like all of that. If we would have waited any longer, it wouldn't have been the same. Like,
because it happened 3 weeks after you said things started to take off. Literally, it was a quarantine.
Yeah, like right at that February mark, and then we went to I think it was Playlist again, March, and it just took off. It was like it was game over.
Nice. And so during quarantine, so you guys are quarantined, obviously can make a lot of content or stuck in the house, but There was some crazy stuff. Like did you guys end up getting shut down for some party or something? Didn't something like that happen, or was that not you guys?
No, yeah, it was. But
Yeah.
the saddest part is like whenever those things happen, obviously the whole group goes down.
Yeah.
But I left. I was
Oh.
like, oh no, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So when that party happened, I flew all the way back home. I was
Oh, wow.
I was in I think Indiana the night that it all went down. I can't remember if I was at home or if I was at my friend's, but either way, I remember I saw all of it. And I'm like, oh God, like this is, and after that, obviously like it was all in the news and the water and power got shut off and all that stuff. But my biggest flex is that I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's a good one. You got out of there. And so during that period, I guess over the past, let's say year, things continued to take off, right? And you guys started building businesses. Like, how did that happen? You go from brand deals and making content to like, we're going to build a VC fund. We're going to launch an energy drink. We're going to do all this stuff. By the way, while we barely can travel and we're not supposed to be really seeing anyone. So like, how did that like business side really kick off?
So obviously like the quarantine time, like all the way through that summer and everything is kind of stacked. Just like, content. There was nothing really exciting to happen, obviously, because it was like lockdown in LA. So we were just house filming, like blowing up. So that's pretty much what happened then. And I like by the end of that next summer, things were like a little bit better. We could go out to like college campuses and do some stuff. And it's funny because like, I remember showing the guys how to shotgun. So like when you put the hole in the can, drink it.
Yeah. I love that, showing the guys that had never experienced a shotgun. That's pretty fun.
College and like had that experience and they've done it. I remember I literally taught Bryce how to do it. And then after that, they just, it's like a new thing you learn that's cool. And they just got addicted to it. So like they wanted to shotgun stuff. So they would do like energy drinks or whatever for the videos. So that's kind of like how they started with Annie is, they would do their YouTube videos and they would shotgun it and they kind of talked about it. And that's how they started the energy drink. I'm a little butthurt because I never got any equity or anything from Annie, even though I was the one that showed him how to start shotgunning to begin with. But anyway,
it happens. It goes around, comes around in a good way too. Like you do a favor, they'll look out for you.
Crap. So that's how that first one started. And that was like when we were still kind of like demons, when we were still like on our wild stuff. And that's when things started to settle down a little bit. There towards the end after everyone got in trouble and all of that stuff. So that was the first one that kicked off. And then afterwards I'm like, yo, Michael, like I want to start doing that stuff. And it was still a weird ground because we were, like I said, we were being demons. And then I went through a breakup, had a super massive humbling. And that's when I moved in with Michael. And that was August of that 2020 summer.
Got it.
And I just had like a super coming to Jesus meeting, like, whenever I moved in with him, we were staying in a little Airbnb and I kind of got away from the whole wild scene and started building the businesses and getting in. And obviously Josh came in and it was us three after that.
Got it. And so when did you decide you're going to start a fund? Like it sounds like cash was pouring in. Were you getting just tons of brand deals that you were building cash from, or what was going on?
No, I mean, like I said, we were so wild that no brands would really, they didn't want to work with us. Like there was obvious, all of our money was coming in through like our YouTube and our live streams. Like we only depend on ourselves for money and our fans.
Well, that's kind of nice too, though. I mean, not that you don't want the brand deals, but it's nice that you guys can still make good money just doing it yourself. Yeah.
I mean, of course, wanted the brand deals and the cash. We just had to rely on ourselves at that point. So that's why starting businesses was so crucial because you weren't going to make like long-term cash or any substantial money unless we built those companies. Like we did choice because of the path that we took, which was kind of like, double-edged sword, because on one end, we acquired an audience that was so massive. We were like the biggest in the world at the point.
Yeah.
But the side was we were so wild that we weren't able to get any brand deals. So that's kind of how the stuff started.
Got it. And so when did you start investing? Because I remember Michael reaching out to me too, and like you guys are starting to angel invest, and I was like, love that move. I've worked with influencers for a decade now, and it was like everyone's talked about it, but I haven't seen it often that people are actually like, I'm going to be more long-term focused on this versus I got $100,000, I'm buying a Ferrari. Like, it's like, no, we're going to buy some companies.
Yeah. So I remember that happened. Sheridan Claiborne from Lynn Table was my first investment, but Michael was like obviously trying to like, push us towards that, because I didn't know anything about fintech or seed or I didn't know anything about business, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And he was talking to us about it and teaching us and kind of like introducing us to some of the founders and slowly pushing us in that direction. I met Sheridan, they match 401ks. And, obviously it helps people that might not have a substantial amount of income or able to, pay for things of that nature. So for me, it hit home because I knew a lot of people that struggled with that. And I was like, I want to help. So my first investment, I really didn't know what was going on, but I was like, I want to help and support that. So that was my first check. And then after that, I kind of like got addicted to that feeling. And I wanted to do more. So, Michael was like, here's a few more people, started putting in some personal checks, building up that portfolio. Then when we started getting really serious, it was like eight hours a day of like founder calls.
Wow.
Just back.
Were you still making content during that time too? Like keeping that going? Nice.
Yeah. So, it went from nothing to a little bit to, we have to build our name up and like be taken seriously in this. And then eventually we got to a point after a while where we were able to use those connections and start our own fund.
Yeah. And so at what point did Marshall show up, your partner on that fund?
So let's see, when did Marshall start? I feel like it's been probably 9 months now.
Okay.
I think so. Like,
this is fun because like the cadence in which this whole thing happened is insane. Like we've just spent 30 minutes talking about a 2-year period of I'm in nursing school to I have a venture fund, a bunch of investments, one of the biggest TikTok stars, like moved to LA.
It's a crazy time. But yeah, I remember like we were looking, because the hardest part for us was people understand business or, kids understand social media, but there's like no in between. So, Marshall came from Goldman. I believe at Warner. I never really asked him that story, but I think that's what it was. Yeah. And so he was like a good mixture of both. Like he understood like media, he understood obviously like traditional and like business and all of that. So, and he's young. So that was the perfect mix for us. And he came on board, and now, we have our fund, and I feel like it's safe to say now that we're killing it. So
I think you're doing all right. And so you have the fund, you keep creating content. Did you end up launching your own brand too? Or so do you have are you still looking at that?
I'm not going to lie. So I tried doing some stuff with my, just literally Griff in the summer, and every merch company was so terrible to us that I was like, this isn't even worth it. And the margins and everything on the merch was just wasn't even worth it to me.
Yep.
So I'm looking eventually to build out a brand, but more through my content and like something like that rather than just like myself and my name.
Yeah, I think that's good. And so 2 more questions for me, man. What's next would be what are you hoping for now? You've had a pretty rocket ship of a couple of years. 2 years from now, billionaire, like what's the next step for you? What do you think's coming?
I used to think money was my driver, but for me now, it's just doing things that I enjoy, and being able to bring those to people So for me now, I'm looking to do more content. So building out the Hollywood pillar now, looking to do some shows and some movies, and more just building out myself as a person. Social media, I never was really able to do that through 15-second videos on TikTok. So now it's my journey and my mission to build out and get my story out to other people, and hopefully just do a lot of like passion projects and a lot of things that I like to do and can, humanize myself a little bit in the media.
Nice. I love it. And last question, what would be your advice? You took some crazy risks and some awesome things that have, worked out, but for that person that's listening, that's, hasn't done that yet, that hasn't taken the leap, but wants to pursue their dream, so to speak. What do you think is that one piece of advice that you don't normally hear, that either you wish you were told or you're lucky you were told? That's something that you would love to tell other people out there.
I think that, obviously you don't want to do anything just absolutely absurd, but it's a new generation with a lot of opportunities that, a lot of successful people just don't understand. And that's been super apparent to me that, social media is taking over. So anyone that, has a gut feeling that, they want to leave on a whim and do something that's never been done or people say is crazy, there's a good chance, if you have a solid, at least somewhat of a backing and it isn't absolutely absurd, like I said, that there's an opportunity to make it work. So I think a lot of people underestimate social media and its power, and it's obviously becoming more evident through TikTok, but you can do about anything you want and market yourself without any money. So that's my number one thing. If you have an idea, and even if people tell you it's crazy, there's probably a way you can figure it out now.
Love it. Well, Griffin, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on HawkeTalk.
Of course. It was a pleasure.
Always is.
You've been listening to the Hawke Media Podcast. To ensure that you never miss an episode, make sure to subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.